tell him when you up. So you don't gotta
More
show
perfect time to talk about the inconsistencies of one of my favorite and least favorite TV shows of all time, that being The Flash. This video will not only be emphasizing on how inconsistent this version of The Flash's speed is, but by the end I'll talk about where his speed realistically should be, given his abilities and things that were established within his own universe. This isn't going to be me nitpicking the fights either, rather nitpicking the set lore of The Flash with his speed and the vast amount of contradictions that lie within the show. Now let's start with just season 1 alone, because even just season 1 alone, which is the best season in my opinion, it's kind of hard to deny the amount of inconsistencies regarding Barry's speed. And I wanted to emphasize specifically the inconsistencies of this season because this is probably the peak of the entire show, meaning it's only downhill from here. And despite this being the best season, Barry's speed is just all over the place. For reference, Barry has an established and set max speed at which he can travel at pretty much most of the seasons, and despite this, the series doesn't even understand or follow the limitations that they set on the character. For example, time traveling in the show requires you to be emotionally tweaking or to wear a tachyon device while traveling at like Mach 2 or something. And so this really begs the question here, because even by like episode 1 we saw him apparently reacting to lightning. You mean to tell me that the fastest man alive is slower than like fucking cursed Naoya? Okay, you know what, let's just actually go with the show's limitations. Like I said, we already saw Barry previously react to lightning before it even hits him, which would require bare minimum massively hypersonic reactions based on the short amount of distance and time it took for Barry to pull this off. We have him as well just reacting to pure electricity and perceiving it in slow motion when he gets his speed back. This, in my opinion, is what I call Barry's speed mode. Now, you see, to get a better understanding of Barry's inconsistencies, just kind of think of Barry having two modes. A base mode where he's not using his speed and trying to talk down on the enemy, and his speed mode where it seems like he has speed and enhanced reactions starting to kick in for himself. Because for some reason in this show, Barry's speed seems to be kind of just apparent whenever it wants to be, and for some reason his brain doesn't accelerate naturally at high speeds like someone like Red Rush. But even if we want to say for some reason Barry needs to like activate his speed for some reason, you can't justify every instance of Barry getting hit by something to be off guard when the limitations of his speed don't even apply to him throughout the season. Rather, it's, again, whatever the episode or writers want it to be. Early examples of Barry's speed follow as him moving at over Mach 2 to save people from crashing a train, reacting to lightning more than once, outrunning a literal nuke, and closing a singularity without any type of tachyon device. These speeds require Barry to be moving at least dozens of times above Mach 1 or 2, aka the limitation that they set on Barry in the season. Because if Barry is only moving at Mach 1 or 2 and trying to close a singularity, he would just get sucked in by the singularity, period. If he were Mach 1 or 2, he wouldn't be able to react to lightning at close distance. But for some reason, he finds a way to struggle or even lose to people like Captain Cold or Hank from Barry. And it gets a lot worse when especially the next 2 seasons are speedster villains that are faster than the previous villain, which, mind you, Barry spent already the entire season trying to surpass. Zoom was way faster than Thawne and Barry by season 1, and Barry had a device that made him relative with Zoom, but then by the end and after coming out of the Speed Force and having some clarity, he would then go on to beat Zoom by himself anyway. Barry would then get beat up by Savitar, who, mind you, required Barry to get faster, and by the end of the finale they are able to tag each other. And mind you, after season 3, he gets stuck in the Speed Force for years on end, and after he pulls back up, it's stated no one's ever gone as fast as he did before. So even after the multiple differences in speed, Barry still measures up to par as he comes back faster than ever. Now, by this point regarding Barry's speed, we're approaching season 4 territory, which does surprisingly have some of Barry's best speeds. He's now casually moving someone to China at relativistic speeds, spends an entire episode outrunning a nuclear bomb in which is probably one of the best episodes in the entire series, as this episode shows you how fast realistically the Flash can go. Now, the reason why Barry was able to do this, however, was because of an ability called Flash Time. An ability that allows Barry to move so fast that time is super slowed down. Calculations have this speed at around 99% of the speed of light, which is surprisingly pretty low, especially with what we've gone over previously. By this point, Barry should already be reaching far beyond the speed of light, and we already see this in this season as he goes on to react to the Thinker's portals that close within less than 3 picoseconds, meaning Barry has to be moving far beyond the speed of light to even catch up or even close the distance between himself and this portal. But my thing is that the Thinker specifically is only this fast with the portals, and yet he can physically tag Barry and outplay him. Like I said, this show is just very inconsistent and just kind of picks and chooses when Barry wants to be fast. You know how I just went over that he beat up Zoom and, was able to scale the Savitar and came back stronger than ever? Yeah, well, 2 episodes later, he loses to Marvels. And then when we get into Season 5, which is arguably the worst season of the show yet, it just adds even more inconsistencies to Barry's speed. Like, for example, Zoom almost killing Nora and tagging Barry. And we have characters like Thawne, who should have been surpassed by this point, still somehow scaling to the main characters. They just kind of do this because they want to keep Tom Cavanaugh around. But still, it just kind of dumps down not only Eobard, but Barry's growth throughout the seasons, when every time Reverse Flash pulls up, he just beats up Barry. It doesn't help either that both in Season 4 and 5, there's not a speedster villain until the very end with Reverse Flash in Season 5. Meaning, I can't even give an excuse for half of the bullshit that Barry and Nora managed to get themselves in. Especially regarding Nora, who specifically went back in time so many times because she just kept dying to Cicada. I'm sorry, how do you die to somebody with an anti-nut knife? Kind of defeats the whole purpose of super speed, and at least with the Thinker they tried the whole, oh well he's smarter than everyone, which didn't even work because for some reason he couldn't even comprehend human emotions. But now you just have, oh yeah, a normal guy with a knife is killing speedsters, let's roll with it. It just doesn't make any sense, and the other seasons only make this case even worse for Barry. And it actually said that he moves 80 times slower than the speed of light. Meaning Barry in universe by this point is only maybe 1% or 2 into the speed of light at best, which is pretty ridiculous if you ask me. Like I said, Barry was already reaching this by the likes of Season 1, and in this same season we literally see Barry running into a black hole and not getting absorbed. So by this point he has not only escaped a black hole once, but twice. And yet for some reason he's only moving at 8% of the speed of light. Okay, bro. Now, of course, the main reason for Barry's speed kind of being like this within the show is they need to stretch out the episodes to 40 minutes. They need to get past that 20 episode mark and for some reason just make Barry the stupidest man alive instead of the fastest man alive. And I'm at least glad that the later seasons go on to show what Barry is truly capable of. I think that's honestly the only positive I have to say about seasons 7 through 9. It's a little too late for me to really care, and especially given that the effects have taken a downgrade as well, it's not pretty to look at and it's not well earned either. And in sacrifice of making Barry look kind of fast, they dumb down the villains by a significant margin. And generally, even the villains at their peak are just as inconsistent as Barry sometimes. Zoom, Savitar, and Thawne all look pretty stupid by the end of the series. The whole thing with Thawne is that he always gets the one-up on Barry, and he's always one step ahead of him. And yet in the Season 5 finale, he just gets jumped by Team Flash and loses, and then he's like, oh, it isn't over, Flash. But like, bro, you just lost. Savitar and Zoom, who had aura initially, are just dumbed down as supervillains with a complex goal and end up losing to their own stupidity anyway on more than one occasion. Savitar gets stabbed by Nora when he's in armor, and then Godspeed loses to Cecile, who, by the way, has normal human stats. But for some reason, with her mind-reading abilities, she ended up being somebody who can use telekinetic powers, and she can fly and beat up a bunch of Godspeeds. One last thing I would just like to mention, after the discovery of Flash Time, I don't think Barry should really ever lose to any type of buffoonery, ever. And if it were up to me, I honestly think by the end of Season 1, Barry should have stopped asking, Wells, Cisco, what do I do? There isn't a Flash without Wells. And Iris, oh, we are the Flash. Stop dumbing down your characters to try and get watch time when nobody's watching. There isn't a Flash without Wells. And Iris, oh, we are the Flash. Stop dumbing down your characters to try and get watch time when nobody's watching your shit. This is why your show fell off. Even if you want to say Barry is like only Mach 2 or Mach 8 by the end of Season 3. By the time of Season 4, he should be faster than ever, he's able to discover Flash time, and he loses to somebody who's immobile! I genuinely can't stand the stupidity of this show, and honestly, I'm gonna need to make more breakdowns specifically talking about this, because, my goodness, this show gets my blood boiling, bro. In conclusion, just watch Season 1 because the rest of the show sucks ass.